Hello guys, and welcome to a new Still Division video today by me, Vulcan. So here we are for game 2 between DDRAIG and Hitman. This one's going to be on Colombelles, and on the allied side, DDRAIG is playing with the Guards Armoured, and Hitman is going to be playing with the 1st SS-Panzer. So this is quite an interesting matchup. We've got Cromwell 7s for days versus the Stugs. And those Stugs in the early game are going to be pretty rough actually to deal with. The AT Stugs. The Guards, it's an okay choice, especially if he manages to shut down the Stugs early on. He can make some serious ground against infantry with things like the Humbers. So we'll have to see what he focuses on. So far, the Cromwell 7 is coming down, but yeah, the Panzerjäger Stugs are definitely going to be coming onto the field as well. So that's the matchup we're going to look out for. Cromwell 7s versus Stugs. The Stugs do have decent penetration versus the Cromwells, but the Cromwells have just as much penetration against the Stugs. The biggest difference, though, is that the Cromwell 7 comes in with no veterancy, whilst the Stug 3s are coming with 1-star veterancy. So if the Stug 3s also have command nearby, they're going to be 2-star veterancy, and then the Cromwell 7 is more or less completely outmatched still. So that's going to be relatively tough for DDRAIG to manage, but the Cromwells at close ranges can certainly take advantage of the fact that the Stug is an assault gun and therefore does not have a turret, and will have to turn it in order to fire. Meanwhile, on the bottom side, yeah, that's just going to be 2 6-pounders. We've got 2 units of motorized rifles, I assume. The Piat for the center, another unit of motorized rifles on the top side as well. On the side of Hitman, he's got the IG-18 there assisting the Stug 3. There's going to be a couple of Panzergrenz. Do they have Panzergrenz? It's Volksdeutsche, isn't it? For the 1st SS-Panzer. They're going to be pushing into the factory here, and there's also going to be some Sturm Pioneers at the start. On the bottom side, just an IG to cover that position. Great thing about these IGs coming in with the 251s is that you can use the half-track to just hide behind a tree line and hold the front line in that area, and they can be quite hard to dislodge, especially if the infantry you're coming up against uses things like Piats, which actually never hit. So we will see. We're just waiting for the rest of the troops to come down here. We've got the Volksdeutsche from Hitman on the bottom side just to join there, but that's a lot of points invested already. 110 points apiece, I believe these are. These Stug 3s. You got the Puma going to be joining the fray in the center, going into that factory. You got the top couple units of Volksdeutsche. So he's nearly done here. He actually removed the IG on the bottom side in favor of the Puma. So that's what's happened there. Double Cromwell through the factory. Will that work? This is going to be a really interesting engagement. It's almost as if Hitman can actually see the lay of the land here, because that is going to be an interesting exchange on the top side. The Stug Puma versus Cromwell 4 and Cromwell 7. So, yeah, it depends. I guess if there's command here, that will work out nicely. It depends if the command remains nearby the Pumas and the Stugs, because the 10 AP here is more than enough to get through the Cromwell 4 at least. The 14 armor of the Stug 3 is good enough to get through the armor of the Cromwell 7. So if they're targeted correctly with that extra veterancy, it looks like Hitman could come out on top. Let's see, we've got the motorized rifles unloading into these trees. Looks like he's going to potentially try and cover this road with the motorized rifles, but the Stug 3 might prevent that from coming to fruition. The 1,000 meter range there from the Stug 3 will hit the motorized rifles before they unload. But the AT gun is in position, so if that unloads and keeps line of sight, he might be okay. Because surely DDRAIG can see that. Cromwell going for the push onto the Puma, and the Stug 3 is trying to engage there, but does get crew knocked out, which is not a good place to be. The Stug is hammering. That's Cromwell 7. It's taking a lot of suppression. Needs to get out of line of sight, needs to break that line of sight. Looks like they've been distracted by the Bren group in the center. So it was actually Bren group across the board, not even motorized rifles from DDRAIG. So relatively weak infantry here that the SS Volksdeutsche could potentially exploit. Moving forwards and engaging those with the Volksdeutsche would be a very easy way to make some ground. Stug 3 going to be slamming that half track that was pushing a +1. Still a +1 for DDRAIG, but any sort of push on the bottom side with some Volksdeutsche will likely just break down whatever DDRAIG has here. The double 6-pounder here is quite interesting to cover that bottom side. It just looks like the main contest is in the top side though for now. The Cromwell 7, the best way to use this right now is to get line of sight onto the Puma without engaging the Stug. Because the Puma has no chance of killing the Cromwell 7 at that range, whereas the Stug does. So the Cromwell 7 needs to pick off the Stug, and then he can just 2v1, or the Puma, sorry, then he can 2v1 the Stug with the Cromwells. So just gotta be careful with that micro, although it does look like the Volksdeutsche are kind of pushing up here and preventing that Cromwell 7 from doing what it wants to, being in threat of using its Panzerfaust onto that vehicle. We do now have a 2-inch mortar carrier on the way that could provide some smoke for some plays with the Cromwells. However, if that is used for smoke, then it might actually benefit the Sturmpioneer and the Volksdeutsche more than anything. Really nice smoke use there from Hitman to get himself close to the Bren group, and those Bren group, well, they're going to get absolutely melted shortly as the Sturmpioneers break through the smoke. Really great use of smoke so far, honestly, from Hitman throughout these games. And he's managed to dislodge the Bren group. Spitfire is going to be coming in with the 2 15 HE bombs. It's going to dodge that strike. Nicely done. Still takes quite a bit of damage because those are sizable bombs, but keeps the Sturmpioneer squad alive. Or the Piat nearly snipes the Volksdeutsche there, but not quite. Now the 2-inch carrier going to try to finish off those Sturmpioneers, but that Piat is not long for this world. Meanwhile, on the bottom side, the Avklara, are they spotting these 6-pounders? Let's have a look. They are. There you can see both of them. So Hitman knows exactly what's going on down here. Brings in a couple of Volksdeutsche. We can just melt this entire line. We'll have to see if he actually goes for that. It looks like currently both players very distracted with this push over the factory on the top. 257 is arriving. These are incredibly difficult to deal with. Their 2-star veterancy makes them incredibly fast firing, and therefore we're going to see that trying to pin down enemy infantry. Well, that is going to be one carrier going down. That is going to be used for smoke. Again, the great smoke plays coming across here from Hitman, using that cover to get his Volksdeutsche across. Puma going to be taking the shots from the Cromwells. DDRAIG still looking for that Puma kill, trying to get that out of the way so he can double team that Stug. The other way that he could have done that is, since there's no AA generally at the start of the game in Steel Division WD-44, it's very rare that people buy that. It might have been a nice idea to use the Spitfire to bomb the Stug and the Puma and then attack them from that, but this infantry is really causing big problems. You can see the Panzerfaust there finds the kill onto the half-track, and now Hitman pretty much has full control of the factory for now. If these are a couple units of Bren group, they're really not going to be doing too much. And even motorized rifles at the close range won't survive too well against Volksdeutsche. They have the 8HE versus the 5HE, but that's not a sizable enough difference based on the difference in number of troops in each squad. And if they're caught at range, like this, for example, the Volksdeutsche opening up with both their MG42s rips half of that squad to pieces in like a couple of seconds. So that is really, really scary stuff. Now the Volksdeutsche are actually making a push on the bottom side. We got these Volksdeutsche finding the Bren group. IG-18 has also arrived, really good choice for supporting this push on the bottom. And it's going to put DDRAIG in a really uncomfortable position for sure. The Puma and Stug working together well now. Constantly trying to find that line of sight without engaging the Stug. Cromwell 7 does find the kill finally. Now can he shut down the Stug 3? I think Hitman realizes that without the Puma there, this Stug 3 is in a pretty tough spot, so he's going to have to rely on his infantry play in the factory to keep them at bay for the time being, whilst potentially going for the snipes onto the half tracks. So Volksdeutsche still making ground. They have done some damage to the 6-pounder, and you can see the front lines buckling down here. 251 can come up and engage with its MG onto the Bren group now that the 6-pounder is falling back. It's going to be out of line of sight of this other 6-pounder here, as you can see. Meanwhile, this IG is going to help kill off the Bren group, and then also potentially the 6-pounder, although the Volksdeutsche are coming down since they pinned the Bren group in the trees there. So the bottom side in a very, very tough spot. This Spitfire probably going to go for the bombing strike onto, I was going to say the IG-18, but no, it's going for the Volksdeutsche. They're just trying to prevent that infantry squad from making too much ground since they're out in the open. Probably going to take a lot of damage from this. Get all the way down to 2 men. And the Bren group might be able to finish them off now if they are allowed to open up. 6-pounder no longer pinned. Might kill off this half-track in time. It does indeed. That ends up pinning the Volksdeutsche in the open. And those 2 units are suddenly completely alone in the open. The IG-18 doesn't really have line of sight onto any targets just yet, but we'll see actually the 6-pounder soon. I think the Alpha Colour is still spotting that, so the IG, if it moves down, gets some shots on, that might work out quite well. Volksdeutsche killing that half-track. Now we've got motorized rifles versus Volksdeutsche. I'm very worried though that Hitman's just going to completely overwhelm the numbers of these motorized rifles with his Volksdeutsche. It would have been good to keep them in that building actually, so they could continue to engage with the MG. It looks like the MGs are going to be engaging the motorized rifles there, whilst the main guns are hitting the motorized rifles. The benefit of these motorized rifles versus Volksdeutsche at close range actually, something I haven't mentioned yet, is the fact that these Volksdeutsche are disheartened. So they will take double suppression, or 50% more suppression, not double, from these motorized rifles. So if the motorized rifles can pin the Volksdeutsche, then the motorized rifles will win quite easily. And that's, like, in a continued engagement, that will happen. So the 2-inch carrier is also helping out with that aim, but then we've got the 257 doing the opposite thing, trying to stop these motorized rifles from running forward and pinning them. But really nice play there. Jumps the motorized rifles forwards, manages to keep the pin onto the Volksdeutsche, breaks down the infantry in the town, and the DDRAIG is suddenly back in the game in the center. Meanwhile, on the bottom side, one of the 6-pounders did end up getting killed, but we got the Hummer Mark III now coming up, and I don't think that there's really much that Hitman has to stop that. The Hummer Mark III can make some real ground down there, and we've also got another Hummer Mark III coming up to the center. So where there is limited support on this bottom side, the Hummer Mark IIIs can absolutely chew through those areas, and that would mean that the Guards Armoured is going to be able to make a comeback. So the 2-inch carrier used with the motorized rifles, great play by DDRAIG, does manage to make him some ground back. If he can manage to get the pin onto these Volksdeutsche as well, by jumping into the building next to them, get another surrender, that would be fantastic. Just needs to pin them. Although, actually, never mind, the 232 is in range to stop them from being surrendered, but the motorized rifles at that range would likely just kill them off anyway. These Volksdeutsche are also suffering. The disheartened is letting them down, and both of the 232s go down at the same time. The Cromwell 4 and Cromwell 7, they've been kept out of danger so far, whilst providing a lot of pressure into this area. Another Volksdeutsche gonna be pinned. The Pioneer Fiat is still pinned as well. DDRAIG suddenly finding a way to bounce back into this game, breaking down all of these Volksdeutsche that Hitman has in Phase A. Now, there's simply nothing to kill these Hummer Mark IIIs on the bottom side. I'm really hoping that the Ju-87 is used to pop them, and it will be indeed, because that is currently running all over these defenses. The Recce here spotting any infantry that are hidden, and then the Hummer Mark III just chewing them up. Same deal here. Sturm Pioneer, if they get spotted, Hummer Mark III can kill those, although he's not going to have to. He could just leave them there and continue to make more ground. So we've got a game on our hands, guys. Ju-87 though, is it going to find the kill? Onto the Cromwell 7, it fails, as the Cromwell 7 is microed to bounce off the front armor. Spitfire Mark 9 bomber comes in to shoot that down, and that is a terrifying prospect for Hitman, because that is a lot of points invested into the Ju-87, and now it's all gone. Hammer Mark 3 on the top side is taken out swiftly. The Stug 3 trying to take advantage of the Cromwell 7 being forced to fall back by that Ju-87 strike, but doesn't manage to make it. And now is exposing itself to the 17-pounder. 17-pounder, if that gets on target, that is one very dead Stug 3. Hitman knows it too. The 17-pounder, fortunately for him, has no veterancy, so his accuracy is relatively limited at maximum range. And that Spitfire Mark 9 manages to land a significant bombing strike onto the Flampanzer in the factory. Wow, this is certainly a game to watch out for, because it went one way very quickly. Hitman had the advantage in the early game, and now moving into the mid-game, DDRAIG has completely brought it back. So we've got the Panzer IV-J arriving on the bottom side. That's going to be looking for the kill onto the Humber Mark III. It is, however, a little bit covered by the 6-pounder, and the 6-pounder might be able to kill this Panzer IV-J, since the Panzer IV-J will struggle to aim in time. These Panzer IV-Js, they have worse aim time than the Panzer IV-H, and therefore will struggle to engage things like AT guns as effectively. The motorized rifle leader here in a pretty tough spot. They're going to need some smoke to sort them out. Do have the 2-inch carrier here. It hasn't used any smoke yet. But there goes the 17-pounder pop in the Stug 3 on the top side. That is a very, very nice engagement. Humber Mark 3 has been engaged. A little bit more micro there might have allowed the Humber Mark 3 to actually find a kill. If that was tucked right in at the 100-meter range, I think there would have been a little bit of penetration chance against the Panzer IV. So that could have been something that DDRAIG tried to do, but never mind. It's already dead. Now the 6-pounder is still in position though, and another Humber Mark III is on its way. We're currently still a +1 for DDRAIG, winning in 26 minutes and 45 seconds if it continues at this rate. Now the rifles have arrived though, and with these 10-man squads and their 8 HE, it's going to be quite easy to sort out the Volksdeutsche at close range, because again of the disheartened trait, unless of course the Volksdeutsche managed to pin down the rifles in the open with their 2 MGs. Pioneer, if you're actually jumping over here to use their grenade, that is cheeky. That is very, very cheeky indeed. Actually misses it though. Volksdeutsche don't miss the Panzerfaust. They managed to take out that carrier. Got a couple of Stuart Remis coming in. They're going to be carrying potentially field engineers. I think they are. Anyway, meanwhile, into the center, we have some better reinforcements arriving in the SDKZ 251-1 half-tracks. Those half-tracks, with their MGs, can actually pin these rifles very quickly at range, especially being 2-star veterancy with command nearby. So that's a pretty scary prospect for DDRAIG's infantry, but of course the Cromwell 7 is still alive and good to go. Both players being choked though by this factory. It's very, very odd. Since both players have almost exposed each other's defenses on the bottom side, I'm kind of curious as to why either player hasn't tried to shift tack a little bit. Even onto this top side, there's like nothing here on either side. And no probing attempts at all. It's just everyone is all in the town. Or in the factory, sorry. But the Pioneer Field are going to go down there. You also see the Piet squad going down. Oh, these are assault pioneers, sorry, not field engineers. There we go. But the Stuart Remis with their 50 cals are certainly going to do a lot of damage to this infantry. 2-inch carrier. Again, still using HE, no smoke yet. And smoke would be perfect here, just to get these assault pioneers across without taking any crossfire from MGs. Right, now we see the rifles opening up on the bottom side. You've got the Bren group there as well, the Aufklärer They're going to be taken out. And getting rid of that recon on the bottom side there is actually really nice. Because the IGA team will eventually not be able to shoot at those anymore. Humber Mark 3 is potentially going to kill the 251. Unless it can get back into cover. We saw the bombing strike from the Spitfire Mark 9 on the top side. Cromwell 7, just looking for more half-track kills, and this Cromwell 7 has done very, very well so far, just to stay alive and be an absolute nuisance throughout this game so far. But this concentration into the town, or into the factory, I always do this with Colombelles, it's a factory, not a town, is something that I think both players should maybe start to avoid at this point. But the 17 pounder going to be able to pick off the Panzer IV on the bottom side. And with that front line shifting as it did, maybe, just maybe, DDRAIG might push into that salient. But no. More troops arriving for the factory. We've got an absolute grind on our hands. Then we see another 6 pounder. Actually, that's a 17 pounder coming down to the bottom side. That's not another one, actually. That's just DDRAIG microing the 17 pounder around the map. He's been picking it up by the looks of things with this M5 half-track and just dragging it to the positions where it's needed. So in this case, what he's going to be trying to do is get it down next to this Panzer IV-J in order to kill that off. Now the Sturm Pioneers here did reveal themselves flaming this half-track. So DDRAIG just going to try and circumnavigate those. Just go all the way around and meanwhile just send the Humber Mark 3 back. Sherman 5 currently pushing forwards on the bottom side of the factory. There is a Panzerschreck here, however. A little bit of micro from Hitman will find a Sherman kill. It looks like he's going to do just that. If he can jump in that building. See if the Panzerschreck can hit the mark. It does. It bails out the Sherman 5. That Sherman 5 just a little bit too close for comfort. And is likely going to be killed off because of it. As soon as the Panzerschreck reloads, it can just jump back forwards and get another kill. Honestly, he might just wait, however, for the Stuart Remy to move forwards and then kill that instead, because currently the Sherman 5's bailed out and therefore completely useless for the time being. Wait, did the 17 pounder get killed here? I think the 17 pounder died. I think the half-track that was pulling it got panicked. It dropped the 17 pounder and the Sturm Pioneers killed it. That's a considerable play here from the Sturm Pioneer behind the lines. Really nice stuff. Right, Panzerschreck did jump forwards and kill the Stuart Remy. The Sherman 5 is dead. However, we've got the 25 pounder coming in here and doing plenty of suppression onto the Pioneers. Panzerschreck jumping out briefly is going to take out another vehicle. This Panzerschreck, insane value, really nicely done. Rifles going to be picking them off in the open though. But meanwhile, with these Pioneers being pinned by the 2-inch carriers and also the 25 pounder, the factory might soon come under control of DDRAIG, and he's still sitting on that +1, so still gaining points and still heading towards victory. Spitfire Mark 9 now coming in with the bombing strike onto the 257. Very unlikely that will kill it. We'll have to wait and see. If he can get lucky, it might. No. Just going to be falling it back for now. Preventing it from, I guess, mortaring the 17 pounder or even the 6 pounder on the bottom side when that reveals itself, firing at the Panzer IV-J. Doesn't actually have line of sight onto the Panzer IV-J yet. Spring Group going to go down in the meantime. Rifles potentially able to kill the Volksdeutsche. I think the Aufklärer just spotted that. Yeah, they did. So the Panzer IV is going to stay in cover. That 25 pounder was targeting the enemy mortar, but since it got bombed, it's going to switch its target to the IG on the bottom side. 222 riding up next to the rifles here. Oh, that 20mm at close range. That is disgusting. Goodbye, Rifle Squad. IG also takes out the 6 pounder and the Sturm Pioneers at close range. Get a grenade into the hatch of the M5 half-track, and that goes down. So, Hitman still making the plays, and with the Panther Gs on the field, things could get pretty scary for DDRAIG, unless his 17-pounders can save the day. Well, we got the Stuart Remies. They're trying to push up. They are still open top, so the Pioneers can kill those with grenades. Doesn't manage to that time around. Rifles, they're currently getting wrecked by the grenades of the Pioneers. Sherman 5 is now probing on the top side. This is what I was looking for. Players being a little bit proactive in other areas of the map. So now it's going to force Hitman to commit a Panzer IV-H to the top side, which he would otherwise put into the factory, for example. So, really good job. 17-pounder now engaging the 222. Can he find the kill? No, he won't. Just gets out of range. The Stern Pioneer still in position. Oh no, is that going to be another 17-pounder taken out by the Stern Pioneers? This Stern Pioneer is being absolutely king throughout this game so far, and with the mortar fire coming in, the Stern Pioneers might be able to run down that 17-pounder. Yep, they're going to go for it. They're running it down, but it looks like the 25-pounder just about saved the day. But that is clean line of sight onto the 257. 17-pounder currently pinned in position. Might be able to find the kill if he starts mortaring that again. Right, command carrier on the way with new command for the area. And just buffing up these assault pioneers might make them a little bit more effective against the Pioneers. Panther G is now getting shots onto the 17-pounder. Stern Pioneer continuing to try and run them down, but only has one Kar 98 on target. And is going to get slammed by the Firefly up the road. They're going to have to finally fall back or die, because the M5 half-track is also there, putting on the 30 cal fire. The Panzer IV-J's made ground here. The 6-pounder dead does mean that the IG and the 222 and the Panzer IV-J can all continue their push. None of this infantry has AT, so it makes it very difficult to deal with this Panzer IV. And we could very easily see a breakthrough on this bottom side as the Panther G engages the Firefly, because the Firefly is going to suffer very badly against Panther G in this engagement. The 17 AP versus 11 armor means that this Panther G is pretty much like 80% penetration chance, which is ridiculous. Easy peasy. Oh, nice hit there though from the 25-pounder, some preemptive artillery. You can see how DDRAIG has put that in front of the IG with the fire position command to hit that before it moves into that area. Just needs another shot to go off target. Oh, Firefly going to get the shot onto the Panzer IV-J. Panzer IV-J attempts briefly to fire back, but can't quite aim in time. 222 finds the kill onto the half-track. It just looks like a Hitman right now is looking for the salient on the bottom side, and he almost has found it. It is going to actually push to a +1. Right, the Panzer IV-H, meanwhile, in the top side, has managed to clean up the half-track that was here, and also the Sherman. So there is simply one man and his Spring Group squad, in his Spring Group squad, waiting to be killed off there, which is a rather sad fate for the Spring Group. Now a 6-pounder forced to be invested in up here, and, well, the counter-attack from Hitman is actually doing very, very well on both sides of the map. Meanwhile, though, Hitman, of course, clogging up the factory still. This engagement still going on. But if this 6-pounder gets taken care of, it's going to be a completely open top side. We've got the Opel Blitz coming down. The Bren Group, can they prevent that engagement? The Volksdeutsche forced to unload here. That's surely going to go down. You've got the MG42s on target. Bren Group dealt with there. Alright, we've got the 257 currently smoking off this area. That's going to allow these Opel Blitz to drive all the way up there. And, well, keeping the Panzer IV-J alive and using the 222 has managed to clean up these units on the bottom side, and that's going to be now a +2 for Hitman. His Opel Blitz are rushing now towards this 6-pounder. If he manages to unload them next to it and kill that, then the Panzer IVs are pretty much free to drive up. So that 6-pounder in big trouble, especially as the MGs open up. It's definitely dead. And, well, half-tracks might be scary, but there's still a Panzer IV-H, and he loses a unit of infantry before it unloads. That is devastating for DDRAIG. Now it's a 2v1, 2 Volksdeutsche versus motorized rifles. That is not a place you want to be in. Weapon jam, actually, for the Firefly. Seems like a shot through from the Panther hit the mark. And now that Firefly out of action, this bottom side is crumbling as the Volksdeutsche and the 222 get into position. They're still supported by the IG-18. We've got the 251-2 coming in for the mortar support on the bottom side. Volksdeutsche still pinning these motorized rifles. The M5 half-track, though, manages to clean up the IG. That's nice. Very nice kill, but look at this. Coming in, more Volksdeutsche flooding into the factory. Hitman's had enough. He's going to try and finish off DDRAIG. Sherman 5 is getting the better of the Panzer IV. Can the Panzer IV fire back? It will not before it goes down. The armor penetration there. The crew was hit and taken out. Sherman 5 winning the day. However, there's not really much infantry to help push onto the Volksdeutsche, which are getting into entrenched positions in these houses. So this position is relatively safe for now. And if they're kept on return fire without recon, these Volksdeutsche could definitely get the jump onto most of these units on the top side. We're going to see Recchi there killing off that last Pioneer on his own. Volksdeutsche finding the Piat. Volksdeutsche pushing through in the center. And DDRAIG now relying on his Crusader AA Mark II to kill off a lot of this infantry, which is a good idea. But Volksdeutsche jumping forwards with the Panzerfaust. They actually miss. And since they did miss, well, they're lucky to be alive. A pin there would have been quite devastating. But the Volksdeutsche managing to clean up the squad they were attacking first. So I would say a calculated call there from Hitman did manage to pay off. Could have gone wrong, but like I said, made it work. That's good. Oh, the supply came in and fixed the weapon jam, but can the Panzer IV get on target first? It looks like it will. That's going to be a crew knockout onto the Firefly 5. See, that can't do anything. The Panzer IV is going to have a second shot on target and does get the kill. That is devastating. 14 AP versus that 11 armor at that range is more than enough to penetrate. And the Panzer IV coming in strong. That is not something you see very often in a DDRAIG. Oh, he is going to surrender after that. And after 27 minutes and 49 seconds, a very scary mid-game for Hitman is completely turned around in the late game. Fantastic work. Hitman is going to be the victor of the Steel Division Throwback tournament. Congratulations to him. What a cracking game to finish. A lot more back and forth than the first game. Hitman, like 630 kills to 30 losses in the first game. This time around, much, much closer. 2,285 kills, 2,000 losses for Hitman. And we can see there was apparently a little bit of friendly fire in there somewhere. But yeah, that is very difficult, because the trouble is with that matchup is the Panther G, if it manages to stay alive and the ground is made, then any reinforcements that come in are just going to get slammed by that Panther. Like, you can bring in as much air force as you like, and it's not really going to get the job done. So yeah, I think DDRAIG in that position rightly surrendered. That was going to be very difficult to prevent a push on that bottom side after the Firefly went down. The Panther was just already facing the Panzer IV, sorry, was already facing in the right direction, and it got the kill onto that Firefly. Incredibly decisive play, because if the Panther IV had died, the Panther G was already falling back, which would have given the Firefly more pressure on the bottom side, which then means that DDRAIG can push back. But at that point, DDRAIG can't lose that Firefly. Like, if he loses that Firefly, he loses all pressure on the bottom side, the infantry is free to run forwards, and both the Panzer IV and the Panther G can support that push, which would just be crushing. It would just be over. Meanwhile, on the top side, like, the Volksdeutsche just still sat in those entrenched positions. DDRAIG at that point probably barely had any recon left to, like, just get rid of them. So, yeah, incredibly tough position to be in. But nice micro from the Cromwell 7 finally found the Puma kill. And then that opened up the top side of the map for DDRAIG in the mid-game. That was exactly what the Cromwell 7 was there to do. It was there to break down the Puma and Stoke 3, which it did manage to do in the end. With some decent micro, just kept it alive. Got pretty unlucky with some shots, but the Cromwell 7, without its veterancy, does lack a little bit of accuracy at long range, so there is that. The motorized rifles, getting the better of the Volksdeutsche with the help of the 2-inch mortar carriers was very, very significant in the factory. Really good use of those 2-inch mortar carriers, for sure. The Hummer Mark IIIs exploited the bottom side, but were ultimately countered by the arrival of the Panzer IVs. So that was unfortunate. Nice play from the Spitfire Mark 9 onto the Ju-87. This was just when everything was going in DDRAIG's favour. But then it all kind of turned around after this 17-pounder got killed by the Sturm Pioneer. I think, honestly, the Sturm Pioneer might have been the key to victory here. That one Sturm Pioneer sitting in that building on that road, it killed a 17-pounder and almost two, I think, which is really sort of like a massive break in the momentum of what DDRAIG was trying to do, because he was trying to move the 17-pounder into all the different positions to kill the Panzer IVs, break down the armor of Hitman, make it very difficult and like much less cost effective for him to keep pushing in all of the different areas of the map. But that one Sturm Pioneer just completely broke down the momentum that DDRAIG had and just caused like such, I guess, frustration in the middle of the map. And basically made it very hard to bring in reinforcements. They were all being like harassed by that one squad, and yeah, it was very, very interesting to see. But yeah, that 17-pounder, nice couple kills, but unfortunately suffered the fate of the Sturm Pioneers. And then after that, you can see, like, so the 17-pounder gets his kills, and then there's much less kills per unit after that fact. Whereas if we jump over to Hitman, Hitman had a really strong early game. Like straight away, he was doing very, very well. But then look at the Sturm Pioneer. Actually killed a motorized rifle leader as well. And the 17-pounder there, it flamed the M5 half-track to panic, and then the 17-pounder got unloaded and died because of it. Which is crazy. And then it did loads of damage to the other 17-pounder that was in the same position. The Panzer IV-J there finding the Firefly kill. So important. IG-18 killing the other 17-pounder. And 6-pounder there. This Panther G barely did a thing. But it's just an incredibly big sort of obstacle that DDRAIG has to find a way around. It's very difficult for him to do so. I guess potentially Typhoon ATs might be a thing, but otherwise very, very difficult. 222 broke down the Bren group and the half tracks there. We saw the Stug 3, actually some pretty nice value from that Stug 3. Managed to kill both the Cromwell 7 and the Cromwell 4 in the end. We actually probably missed those kills during the game. And then the Volksdeutsche, getting plenty of kills here towards the end. Again, just a complete comeback. It's like just complete opposite of like DDRAIG's mid game. Just you can see when it's all coming together because the infantry start getting kills because you have the support in place to be able to do that. And obviously there was a lot of Volksdeutsche were kind of spammed into the factory, and they managed to just clean things up nicely. So yeah, fantastic second game there. Congratulations to Hitman for winning the Steel Division Throwback tournament. That was quite something. Very surprised out of the gate of the first game between Hitman and DDRAIG, but the second game, much more standard, back and forth. I thought DDRAIG might have had it in the mid game, but maybe overextended a little bit on the top side. Got basically punished for that by a couple of Panzer IVs. The line got pushed all the way back up there. You know, it became a +2, +3. Meanwhile, on the bottom side again, maybe just overextension, but I think on the bottom side it was a bit different because there wasn't really much pushing from DDRAIG. It's just the defense got broken down over time by the good use of recon from Hitman. So yeah, great stuff. That's going to be it from this tournament. Hopefully you guys enjoyed all the coverage, and I'll make sure to bring more competitive games to you in the future. But that's it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.